These side edges are super easy to make. We add 2 stitches to the number of stitches that we cast on, and then in every right side row we knit the first stitch. We can do it with the yarn in our right hand or the yarn in the left hand, doesn't make any difference, simply knit that stitch. And then we work in the main stitch pattern of the project until we get to the last stitch of this row. My stitch pattern is a seed stitch, but yours could be lace cables, it could be anything at all. When we get to the last stitch of the row, we knit that stitch as well. That's the first row, that's the right side row. When we turn the work, we're gonna purl the first stitch, just like this. And then again, we work in the main stitch pattern of the project until we get to the last stitch of the row. And guess what? This stitch is gonna be purled as well. And then we repeat these rows. In one row, in a right side row, or an odd numbered row if your project is reversible and you don't have the right and wrong side. In one row, we knit the first and the last stitch of every row. In the next row, we purl the first and the last stitch of every row. And as we repeat these rows, we'll see that the edges are actually thin stripes made of stockinette stitch, because that's exactly what we are doing. We are working in stockinette stitch. They don't look like much, but when the time comes to seam those edges, that's when they really shine. These edges give us not just one, but 2 ways to join them. The first option is to run the seam between the first and the second stitch from the edge. See, like I did over here. So we pick the strands that run between the first and the second stitches. And that forms a seam that is practically invisible on the right side of the work. See, my seed stitch is absolutely seamless over here. But this seam is a little bit bulky. Just like this. Not a big deal, but we can improve that by running the seam through the edge stitch. See, we pick up the strands not between the first and the second stitch from the edge as we did over here, but inside the edge stitch itself. So we pick up the horizontal strands that are basically the tops of each stitch that forms the edge. That gives us a much flatter seam. See, it is very flat, it's almost no bulk there. But these half stitches that are left at the edges of the seam form a chain of stitches that marks the seam. It's not really ugly, it actually looks quite neat, but it makes the seam visible because it clearly marks the spot where the seam is. So the choice is yours whether to use the option 1 or the option 2, but you have both. And to make the seams in my swatches, I used simple mattress stitch. But these edges work well with any seaming method. If you find this tutorial helpful, please subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon to be notified every time I publish a new video. Happy knitting, my friend. I'll talk to you in the next tutorial.